It's just everybody else. When the earth is old and cold and gray, and we're out beyond the Milky Way, who shall lead humanity? Well, I'd send to you that you don't see. And they'll say, what a human, what a friend, what a model citizen. You know why the people love you so. If you knew the you that you don't know, just how the people love you so, yeah. If you knew the you that you don't know, if you knew the you that you don't know, if you knew the you that you don't know.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. And good morning out there in the virtual world, especially to our friends up in Oregon and New York and Michigan. Hello to you. And you guys here, I have to say, I can't see you in the WeberNet world, but I've got to say that you guys look exceptionally good today. You really do.
Yeah.
You're looking. It's a good-looking group. So my first question is, how's everybody surviving the Mars-Pluto square? Isn't this a interesting event to be in? Yes. Yeah. There you go. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm not going to talk about. Well, I am going to talk about that, but not like I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. Pay attention. Yeah, I'll talk. You'll figure it out. So. Anyway, I'm just so happy to be here with you guys. A couple things going on that are going to be a little bit different today. The first thing is that if you walked in, you noticed that the table and chairs that we had set up are not set up. And you may be asking why that is, and I'll tell you in a little bit. So the other thing is we are having a board meeting this morning after service, and you're all invited. In fact, it would be better if you came, just because we're wanting to move to this next experience as we're moving into fall and open and transparent and just kind of like where things are, and just to listen and get some feedback. So that's happening, and that will be in the Emerson room. And for those of you in the virtual world, there will be it will be Zoomed as well, so you can join in our board meeting, and we'd be thrilled for that. Let's see, classes, I'll talk about that later. Classes are going to start in January. We'll have the class that I am preparing to do is called New Thought for the 21st Century. And I know Sherry right now, who is our class registrar, is scratching her head. We'll talk Tuesday. So that will be Tuesday nights on Zoom and Wednesday nights live. More information about that coming down. Let's see, other things in the life of the center. Yes, a couple things. One is a very important thing, which is, as many of you guys know, on last Wednesday, there was a fire on the property of Liz. Tuesday night, like I said, Tuesday night, there was a fire at Liz's property, and the guest house where Paul and Carol live was destroyed, as well as the trailer where several guests, workers were living. They were from Guatemala, and they lost everything. The good news is nobody was injured, and we as a community are invited to kind of step forward. And I'm gonna let Liz come up and just talk a little bit about that now, and then we'll go from there.
You want me to use this?
I do want you to use that.
All right.
And look into the
Good morning, everyone. Guy covered most of it. It was, fortunately, no one was hurt, and that's the good thing. The guest house, Carol and Paul lost everything, and the important thing, they're going to start a GoFundMe, and I know also Andrea is going to be posting it Thursday on the newsletter, and anyone that wants to bring in clothing, and on the Thursday, their sizes, there are 4 men involved, and shoes, jackets, pants. They did go to the Angel Society. The Red Cross came. They had their life savings there. It was like $4,000 or $3,000. So anything that you can do, we don't really need food. We need clothing, tools, bicycles, and it'll all be listed. And for Carol and Paul, I guess the most immediate thing is funding, is to help them get their business, computer, and things up, their screens. That's the most important. Clothing right now, hold off on for Carol and Paul. No food, so it's whether funds that you can be kind enough to donate to get them up starting business. So I think that's it, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. So there will be some GoFundMes coming. I think one has been started, but we'll have a GoFundMe. And we're working on getting that. It's kind of a funny thing because we're a charitable organization and there's just a few hoops to jump. But look for it probably tomorrow on Facebook. And what you can do on that GoFundMe is you can like it and share it. The more people that see it, it goes out. We'll also on the website and on the newsletter, we'll have a place there for things that are needed, sizes and those kinds of things. We'll operate as kind of a clearinghouse for that kind of stuff. You can bring them to the center and then we'll make sure that they are there. And that's how that is. I did forget one thing that I wanted to say, and that is at the end of service, I generally get up and I walk down to the narthex and I shake people's hands and do that kind of stuff. We're not going to do that anymore. We're going to kind of go back to how we were, which is the practitioners will come up here at the end of service. We'll stay here. And if you want prayer, you can walk right up here and one of the practitioners will pray with you or meet you. If this is your first time, please don't leave without me getting an opportunity to meet you. As soon as we're sort of done in here, I'll go into that room there and I will look for, kind of like the last of the Mohegans, wherever you may go, I will find you, as long as you don't leave the building. So yeah, we're just going to shake some things up. And if you're wondering what the heck is going on, come to the board meeting. That's where it's all going to be. So good morning, Jim. How are you doing this morning? How's class? Good. Jim has a class Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. on Taoism. And it's open to anybody that wants to come. And it's Jim is a remarkable teacher. He truly is. He's like a walking Wikipedia. His information and his knowledge is astounding, and his style is good. And then we have our resident troubadour. How you doing this morning?
Quite well. I'm working on the stories in my head. I've got a little tendonitis or something going on in my working shoulder, and so just the slow recovery in that and the calmness around dealing with that.
Well, the word of the day is disruption. So
yeah, it's
disrupting patterns.
Practice in real
We're going to
life.
use that conflagration for the good. Yeah. And Pablo, ¿qué pasó?
I'm just here trying to be just grateful, and there's so much going on right now in the world, and just trying to send love to everyone and just be a radiating, healing presence. And just try to heal. And speaking of healing, a good way to heal shoulder stuff is ice. Like 3 times a day, get that blood flowing. I'm not a doctor, but just want no. But no, it's good. I've hurt my shoulders with my martial arts practice, and the ice and limited use, and you're good to go.
Yeah. He's not a physician, but he is a metaphysician.
I'm a metaphysician. I can pray and I can heal you with my
and a martial artist to boot.
Yeah.
A remarkable. He is a. He is a master
teacher.
Yeah,
master
because he has gone beyond black belt. He is a master.
Yeah, master teacher.
Yeah, he should be. His title is Sensei Paul. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Master
cool.
Sensei.
Master Sensei. So, Master Sensei, why don't you let service begin?
Yeah, let's do this. So again, back to this idea of healing and sending love and being that place of love and joy, and with the theme of the month here, no one is great alone, and how beautiful is that? Because we are all together and we all can send this love to each and every one of us, and we can pray for each other and we can be there for each other. And we are a mirror to each other, and I remember there was this one, when I was exploring this path of awakening, there was this one person I came across, and he had this saying, this teacher, he had this saying, if you spot it, you got it. If you spot it, you got it. And that was so profound, because I can see something in another that may irritate me and may arouse me and put me on edge. And as I feel myself going there, I can really think that through and say, well, if I see that in another, then it's probably something within me that I can go to find healing for. And so right there that was a game changer. So if you're ever in that place, if you spot it, you got it, because we're a mirror to each other, right? It's pretty cool. And so, there's the beauty that surrounds us to really center in this moment where we can experience this light and love. We can really gather and harness this presence of peace within each and every one of us, this peace of forgiveness and acceptance. And so let us just take a moment to enter this field of grace, of knowing, that is always present within us and around us and everywhere. And we just follow that soothing breath that we all have here, that the gift of life. Knowing that this truth abounds, and that we can center in this goodness, that there is this presence, a power of good that is always available. And we harness that presence as a joy, as a peace, as a beauty, as a community. Entering this field of grace, this oneness, this beautiful, joyful experience that we have here to give. And so I know that this presence is guiding in each and every way, that I can settle in this presence and accept, and that from this acceptance, I can trust the eternal in that waiting without waiting. And so I give great thanks for this service, knowing that we are all blessed here, that the insights abound, and that we can fully revel in this knowing and this deeper exploration and revelation of this one true presence of life that flows through our natural rhythm of breathing and this natural rhythm of the seasons as we transfer into this wonderful autumn, where we go inward and allow the light to soothe us and to guide us in our own space of love. And so I release, I let God, and together we say, and so it is. And so the reading here, I'm going to stand here and do the reading, and I also welcome you all there online watching, whether it's today or later on in the week. I am not ignoring you. It may look like I am, but I'm not. And so I'm going to stand here to do the reading because I'm kind of short. So when I go over there, I look even more short. So I'll stand over here. Okay. All right. So the reading, the reading is actually from a profound book that I just got on eBay. It's called Your Spiritual Power. It's a compilation of writings by Ernest Holmes. It was released in 2012, and it's such a beautiful reading. It has all these poems that Ernest Holmes had put together. And it really goes to show the depth of this philosophy, some of those things that he wrote, where at first sight, it's kind of hard to understand. But when you start to contemplate over his readings and his ideas, they are quite profound. And so this reading was chosen from that book. And the reading goes, the supreme intelligence, the creative universal order, the dynamic law, and the all-perfect presence. This is God, the silent partner. The life we give is the life we take, and we are the life we give. There are no gods to say us nay, for we are the life we live. So living, take, and taking, live, and giving, get, and getting, give. So with that, let us simply just be in this presence, this beautiful moment, where we are here in this opportunity to sit and to experience the absence and wait in that eternal wait without waiting. Sending our love to everyone in this room. Sending our love, our healing to those who need healing. Sending our love to every person, to all nations that are experiencing conflict, and deepening in this love of one another together. With peace, and blessings. And so it is.
So it is. This is a Jack Johnson song about how we're never alone. combination of words I could put on the back of a postcard. No song that I could sing, but I could try for your heart. These are dreams that made at the real things, like a shoebox of photographs of sepia-tone loving. Love is the answer, at least for most of the questions in my heart, like why are we here, where do we go, and how come it's so hard? It's not always easy, sometimes life can be deceiving. I tell you one thing, it's always better when we're together. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. Oh, we look at them stars and we're together. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. Well, ain't this better when we're together? All of these moments find their way into my dreams tonight. I know that they'll be gone when the morning light sings and brings new things. For tomorrow night you'll see that they'll be gone too. Too many things we've got to do. And if all of these dreams might find their way into my day-to-day scene, I'll be under the impression that we're somewhere in between. With only two, just me and you. Not too many things we've got to do, or places we've got to be. We'll sit beneath a mango tree. Yeah, it's so much better when we're together. Somewhere in between together. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. Well, it's always better when we're together. I believe in memories, they look so pretty when we sleep. Hey now, and when I wake up, you look so pretty, sleeping next to me. But there is not enough time. There is no song I could sing. There is no combination of words I could say, but I will still tell you one thing, we're better together. Thank you very much. Please welcome the Reverend Dr. Guy Williams. Cheers.
That was a perfect song. Thank you so much. I just love that. We are better together. Isn't that true? We are better together. So, and I also want to say to Master Sensei Paul, you may be short, but you're very high. And I don't just mean this morning either. I'm not sure how you got here, but we'll just leave it at that. So, what a week. What a week. What a fascinating 48 hours for myself personally. And I kind of want to share that just to kind of walk into the talk. So, Friday night I had this experience of going to a party that was hosted by one of the members of our community, Joe. It was a fabulous party. It was wonderful. And Joe greeted me at the door, literally not even at the door. He greeted us in the driveway as we were walking out of the car, and he handed me a word that is a precious jewel. And I will talk about that word in a little bit, but it was really just a lovely opportunity to be with people and to visit, and I was just kind of in this thing. And then yesterday, early afternoon, I was able to officiate at a baptism for Brother Gary's granddaughter, and that was an exciting thing to do. And and baptism is kind of an interesting thing for us because we are probably more old school than you would think. And what I mean by that is the rite of baptism from a theological point of view has nothing to do with washing away sin at all. Not even mentioned, because in the early church, there was a belief that we were all made in the image and likeness of the divine, and that there is a seed of perfection in us. You know, what we understand is that there is the world of matter and the world of spirit. And in the world of matter is the spark of spirit, and in the world of spirit is the seed of matter, and that they correspond to each other. And so really what we do in baptism is we welcome somebody into our community. In fact, before there were creeds, like, you know, we believe in this and we believe in that and we believe in that. And I got to tell you, I got kind of a problem with creeds, because creeds basically say who's in and who's out, right? You believe and you're in, you don't believe, you're out. And so they kind of have this almost colonial appearance to them. But even before the creeds, even before the Nicene Creed, and I'm not going to get too nerdy on all this, but before that, probably the most ancient hymn that was sung or chanted at baptisms early on. We have evidence of it because in the epistle of the Galatians, there's a part of it, and it reads like this, and this is kind of what we used at the baptism. You are all God's children through faith in Jesus, who is the Christ. And again, the Christ is not a person, it's a state of being. It was there, it is said that the Christ was there at the beginning of all things. It's that which heals and reconciles and makes all things new. And Jesus embodies the Christ. But his embodiment of the Christ is simply a way for us all to experience ourselves in that consciousness of the Christ. So that's what he's saying here. He says, you are all children through faith in Jesus the Christ. All of you were baptized into this Christ consciousness and have clothed yourself with the awareness of Christ. In this, there is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither slave nor free, nor is there male or female. For all of you are one in the consciousness of the Christ known in Jesus. Now, if you belong to this consciousness, then indeed you are Abraham's descendants, heirs according to the promise. So it's this very unifying thought, right? That we are all part of this one deep spiritual family, to love each other, to honor each other, to see and to celebrate and to serve one another. And so being able to officiate this ritual, I was on a high. And then I got home and I read about the conflagration that is happening in Palestine and Israel. And it felt like a sucker punch. And I have to say that at that moment, the talk that I prepared went out the window. Because, you know, something that Dr. Holmes says is, he says, we see the condition on the outside and we heal it on the inside. And when we do, the condition is healed. And we as a spiritual community, we are not an organization. We are an organism. We are a living, breathing body. And when someone suffers, we all suffer. When someone excels, we all excel. And the idea is, you know, that something that Teilhard would say that we begin to understand is that consciousness is expanding out into the totality of all things. And so I sat with this, and something that Michael Beckwith, who is also a New Thought minister of a large community up in Los Angeles, Agape, but he was meeting with a group of us as ministers, and he said one time, he says, you know, I read the paper daily because it gives me my prayer list. I know what to pray about. Because at the collective level, we are infusing it. And what we know, going back to the ancient Hermetic practices, that our form of affirmative prayer is simply holding the possibility and not being, as Emma Curtis Hopkins says, deceived by the appearance of things. That doesn't mean that they don't exist, because they do. But we don't dwell on that. Not that we put it out of our mind and pretend that it's not there. But what we do in our spiritual work, not our social work, not our physical work, but in our spiritual work, we hold images of possibilities. So I read the paper every day because it directs me of where my prayer work is. And I read this morning in the Times of Jerusalem, there was an op-ed that began, "When is genocide permissible?" Now, I'm not going to get into the whole thing because that's not appropriate for where we are today, of who's doing what and who should be doing what and how they should be fixed and all that other kind of stuff. My work as a metaphysician is to hold prayer and also to take action accordingly. But what I do know as a simple country preacher is that when anybody, ever entertains the idea that genocide is something to consider as a wise choice, what I realize is somewhere along the line we've lost the plot. We have slipped into the weeds. And where do we go with that? Where do I go with that? So that idea, as unreasonable as it is inviting us to hold a consciousness of something that is different. Something that I'm kind of Old Testament today, maybe because of New Testament, Bible-ish. Jesus says, why do you look for the speck in your brother's eye when you have a plank in your own? Why are you looking about nitpicking there when it should be here? And what's going on with me? Because, as I was saying to our brother Lee, that what we know is that the power of prayer is to disrupt preconceived ideas about how things are. And that our job is to sort of break that congestion so that we can let the light of possibility. And, something that Schopenhauer says, he says that everything in form is a metaphor. And so to me, I find it fascinating. Jerusalem, the city of God's peace, is a place where somebody's considering genocide as a wise choice. And so for me, that's my invitation to kind of go deeper into prayer on what that looks like and where to go with that. And what I will say, in all honesty, is it's not easy. In fact, Ralph Waldo Emerson says this. He says, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." That is the work. To hold that kind of possibility of where things are. So, two experiences, or two things happened to me, or two things I read or experienced, talked about, and listened to this week, just kind of fascinated me. And they kind of weave into this, and sort of, if you'll bear with me for a few moments, help me to go to the direction that I'm trying to go to and offer you a precious jewel, which is a word that my friend Joe gave me on Friday night. So the first one is this. So I have been reading by a group of intellectuals something called Red Caesar. Anybody know what Red Caesar is? Pay attention when you hear it. Because it's not, I'm not the kind of person that's kind of a conspiracy theorist, and is on Twitter listening to, whales speaking French or aliens mating with us or any of that kind of stuff. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But it serves me no purpose to go down those rabbit holes. And I am a card-carrying, actually, nerd. I have a card that says I belong to the Tolkien Society. So I'm a real nerd. And I'm going to Theology Beer Camp in 2 weeks. So I kind of run in those circles. And in those circles, not in those circles, but being talked about in those circles, from other circles, is this idea of Red Caesar. And basically, the idea is this, is that our republic has become so broken that the only way to fix it is to have a Caesar. Now remember, the original word for Caesar, as in Augustus and Julius, means Lord and Savior of the world. That's what Caesar means. That's his title. His title was Prince of Peace, Lord and Savior of the world. Because that is how this idea is, that the highest wisdom is to outsource freedom to tyranny for the good of the republic. And again, this is my prayer list, this is where I go, and I think, where do I sit with something like this? And again, if everything is a metaphor, a couple of things. Terry Pratchett talks about this idea that tyranny grows, tyranny festers in grievance. It doesn't exist without grievance. And so if you want to address the issue, you address the grievance. But again, as a metaphysician, what I would offer for your consideration is this, is that that's the collective. Where our power is on the individual. So where do our grievances outsource to tyranny within ourselves? How many tyrannical thoughts do we hold about ourselves because we're frustrated or angry about something? Maybe our finances, maybe our relationships, maybe our body, or whatever the case may be, and we dwell so much on the grievance of the condition that the next thing you know, we're beating ourselves up with a stick about a story or a statement, and we allow it to grow. And if our lives are dominated by the tyrannical thoughts of anything less than the most important thing and truest thing about you is that you are the beloved of the divine, then we have let grievance give way to tyranny in our own life. And we should not be surprised when we see it on the outside. And what we know as metaphysicians is that if we heal it on the inside, we create the possibility of it extending out and healing on the outside. And that is our work to do on the level of the spiritual plane. So as I was sitting with this, I was also thinking, and this was something that was really exciting for me, is, and again, I was at Joe's party. And what was kind of fun being at Joe's party was there was a lot of people there that were Roman Catholics. And having come from that tradition, it's kind of like growing up speaking French and you haven't spoke French in a while, and all of a sudden you're at a party with everybody speaking French. So I got to talk Catholic, and it was a blast. And it was a blast because, that part in me that's weeded down in my DNA, remembers it. And I thought it was fascinating this week. On the feast of St. Francis, one of my favorite saints, that the current Pope Francis issued a letter called Laudato Deum, which means we all praise the divine, which is sort of an addendum to his letter on Laudato Si. And it's this powerful, powerful statement that he makes, because essentially what he's talking about is this very thing. And that he uses a term, technocratic paradigm, and how we've all been seduced into this. And as I read the letter, what I'm realizing, one of the things is he borrowed this term, more power to him, from another philosopher by the name of Donna Haraway. And this is what he quotes her saying, is God has united us to all his creatures. Nonetheless, the technocratic paradigm can isolate us from the world that surrounds us and deceives us by making us forget that the entire world is a contact zone. In other words, we get so caught up into this one idea about what's in it for me that we forget that we're all interconnected to everyone and everything else. Every living being is part of this experience that we call life. But what he also says, which is really interesting in this letter, is he says, we really can't accomplish this ideal alone, because it's only done in the context of community. Politas. Interesting word, polis. Polis is an interesting word. It means the city-state. It means the community, the gathering of. And isn't it interesting that it is the same root as community is polis, police, polite. How does one engage in community is through this idea of politeness. Politeness is how we participate in polis. I just made that up. I think that's pretty cool. Politeness is how we participate in polis. How we engage is in that. So it's an activity, and again, we are a living organism, and so we are always watching that life force is generated by this idea of politeness. So this brings me to this word. So we park our car and we're walking to Joe's house, and he walks up to me and he says, you don't mind if I tell this story? Well, it's a little late now, isn't it? So I'm going to out you. He says, do you know the word sonder? Do you know the word sonder? I had no idea what it meant at all. But so he gave me the definition, and of course, being a nerd, I had to go explore it for myself. And there's this lovely book that I have discovered and ordered on Amazon by a man by the name of John Coing. And the title of the book is The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. I got the book just on the title alone, The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, because this man has realized that there are certain experiences that he has, that probably all of us have, that there aren't adequate words for that. And so he creates words to fit these things. And sonder is this, defined in his book, The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. I was paying attention, Joe. He says, a sonder, a noun, is this: the realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and as complex as you are. Chew on this. Let me repeat it again. Exactly. Sonder. The realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and as complex as you are. So let's just tease that out a little bit, because we certainly don't want to be patriarchal about it and just simply think that experience of complexity and vividness is reserved for humans alone. Because I was thinking about this yesterday, our beloved Rolo, who is starting charm school tomorrow, but destroyed the blinds because he's doing what he can do, but that each being is living a life that is vivid and complex. And we who are stewards on this amazing planet, it is our charge, to the degree that it is possible, to create the space for anything that is within our stewardship to live a life vivid and complex. And oh, by the way, not on our terms, but their terms. Now again, for us, there's polis. There's the polis of 4351 or 45315 Silverado Lane, of how one behaves in that community. And part of that is you don't destroy property. You are polite. And so that's a learning curve for him, and it's a waking up. Because, something that Teilhard says, Teilhard says that this idea of evolution is taking place and that it is moving to always a greater sense of consciousness, complexity, and congruency. That everything in the universe is becoming more aware. And that awareness is giving it a level of complexity. That is a sign. And that there's a level of congruency, meaning that everything joins in together in this. So maybe it was our third glass of wine, Joe, that we had the conversation about, there's a person that he follows who is sort of a neo-pseudoscientist, and he likes him. I'm not going to give his name, but he likes him. And I like him too, for that matter. And, and he's like, well, he says it at a more scientific level. But science is a language. But when it comes to the language of the soul, sometimes science doesn't quite get it. But poetry does. Art does. Life does. And so, in deference to my good brother Craig Losey, our poet laureate, I would like to offer these words from Rumi. This is how a human being can change. There's a worm addicted to eating grape leaves. Suddenly he wakes up, call it grace, whatever, something. Something wakes him up, and he's no longer a worm. He's the entire vineyard and the orchard too, the fruit and the trunks of a growing wisdom and joy that doesn't need to devour. This is how a human being can change. A parable. There's a worm addicted to eating grape leaves. Whatever our addiction may be, whatever that may be, that technocratic paradigm that we can all be victim to, according to Papa Francis. There is a human being, this is how a human being can change. There's a worm addicted to eating grape leaves. Suddenly he wakes up, call it grace, whatever, something wakes him up, and he's no longer a worm. He's the entire vineyard and the orchard too, the fruit and the trunks, a growing wisdom and joy that doesn't need to devour. That is the practice. That is the practice. It is the practice of sondering. It is the practice of sonder. To look at the world, not with judgment, but with curiosity, realizing that everything that passes us by has the capacity and therefore the right to live a vivid and complex life. And that, my friends, is how we are changing the world. Let us pray. Let us pray. Sometimes I'm at a loss for words. Sometimes I'm not sure what to pray. And so I will lean against the wisdom of those before me, and I will hold their words. And this weekend it was difficult for me to come up with some of those words. But I remember the words of Saint Therese of Avila. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. All things are passing away. God never changes. Patience obtains all things. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices. God alone suffices. God alone suffices. And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Rev. All right, let's vocalize here for a little piece in the ethers.
We let love wash over us. We let it be. We let love wash over us. We let it be.
We let peace.
We let peace wash over us. We let it be.
We let light.
We let light wash over us. We let it be.
We let hope.
We let hope wash over us. We let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Yeah, let it be. Speaking words of wisdom. Let it be.
We let life.
We let life wash over us. We let it be.
We let love.
We let love wash over us. We let it be.
Beautiful.
So how beautiful was that, right? Right? You know, this is amazing because, you know, speaking of like master teacher and stuff, you know, in my karate stuff, we have a master reverend here. This doctor, Reverend. Reverend Dr. Guy. So let's give him a hand on that. That was just beautifully crafted service and talk we have every single week. And just the joy of being here really reminds me of the politeness and the giving and the receiving, and we're all a part of this. We're all in this together. We all get to share each other's love in this beautiful place together. And so the most logical conclusion of that is just to give, right? We help each other, and that's what we're here for. We're talking about love and seeing the world through beauty, and we give that and we allow it to flow. And I like giving through my phone. There's a way you can give it. We get an email out every Sunday, and there's a way to give. And I'm giving right now. See, I just gave, and it's really cool. You can I don't carry cash, so I give from my phone, and you can do that too. You can do that if you're watching, you know, even midweek, anytime. You can just send it right out to the Hilltop Spiritual Center. And so if you're giving today, in that spirit of giving, please, if you like, just place that gift on your heart. Just know that is as a symbol of the heart going out with the flow and the blessings of love through our through our grace and our hard work and our earnings, we allow this presence to flow through us to the Hilltop Spiritual Center with grace and beauty. And so I give thanks for this service. I give thanks for the beauty that is revealed to all of us today through the wonder and through the light. I call it forth, I let it be so, and so it is.
So it is.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm singing you. Yeah, you. Thank you. The people coming through. People like you. People coming through.
So thank you all again for being here today, and thank you for being online and for watching. I appreciate that. I don't think I'm on. My light's on. There, now I'm on. Hello, Luke. I am your father. So thank you all for being here today. I'm so grateful for that. I especially want to thank the greeters this morning. I know that Liz was there. No, not Liz. I'm looking right at Chris and I'm calling her Liz because you guys look so much alike. I confuse you guys all the time. That Chris was there and Terry was there greeting. They were the first faces that you saw this morning. So thank you guys for there, and for Steve and Tim, who are making us sound good. And Tim was here this morning early setting up tables with Patty and making the place look good. And before them and before even me, Mark is here and he's working on things and he makes the coffee and he does all that. So all those people that are just part of the unfolding production. And then Andrea is doing, I can't even keep up with her. She's doing everything else and everything else, except she's not playing the guitar and playing music, which of course is Lee and Jim. Thank you guys. And so if your heart has been touched in any way today, please do not leave without the benefit of prayer. And there are a couple ways to do that. First of all, I'd like to invite the practitioners up on the platform with us. And so you can come up to any one of the practitioners after service and say, do you have a moment to pray? And their answer will be yes, and they will pray with you. You can fill out a prayer request card in the back in the narthex there, and we will pray on that. The practitioners get together online once a week, and we pray for all the things that are going on. So that is happening too. I know. Oh, Kurt is another one of the practitioners. He's by himself in the kitchen today, so thank him for that and excuse him for not being here. So you can do that, or you can make an appointment for spiritual counseling with any of our licensed practitioners. They have been trained in the art of affirmative prayer and the science of effective listening, or maybe it's the science of affirmative prayer and the art of prayer, where they can do them both. So you can make an appointment with them. You can pray with one of them today. You can go to Paul's prayer circle, which will be at about 5 minutes after service. It will be a little brief today, Paul, because we're having a board meeting at about a little bit after that. So there's lots of ways. So we pray. And so if you felt that you didn't have an opportunity for prayer today, I don't know what to tell you. So with that, if you'd like to stand, we'll do a benediction together. A benediction basically is a fancy word that means a good word. Benediction. And lands the ship? A benediction lands the ship? Does it? It grounds it. I like that. So we're bringing this in for a landing with a good word. The word is love. Recognizing that there is one power, one presence. It is known by many names, and no name is adequate, but it is that unrelenting love that is continuing to create, always luring us into a greater experience of consciousness and complexity and congruency. It is my life. It is every life. It is that which makes us here today. And recognizing the words of the great master teacher, where two or more are gathered, that presence that was there at the very beginning is here now. And so as we part, we go forth with that presence living as us. And may each of us find amazement and joy and wonder and surprise today, tomorrow, and every other day. May it be so, and so it is.
So it is.
All right, take us home.
Let's see if we remember this sing-along that I wrote for this space specifically. It goes, if you want change, you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood and carry that water. If you want change, you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood, carry that water. It's not clear, but I'm just like you. Yeah, I've been over here pointing fingers too. But if you want change, you gotta do what's good. Gotta carry that water, chop that wood. If you want change, you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood, carry that water. If you want change, you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood, carry that water. Everything I do is part of this earth. Step by step I'm gonna add some worth. We can feel afraid but you can't deny it. We feel at ease when we help each other try it. If you want change you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood, carry that water. If you want change you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood, carry that water. This next part says we're all together because we're all together. Sing with me now. Sing, we're all together. That's a true story. Yeah, sing, we're all together. Yeah, we are all together. We should get together and sing these songs, but it's gonna take more to right these wrongs. I'm gonna know my history, gonna do someone a favor, treat myself better and trust my neighbor. If you want change, you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood, carry that water. If you want change, you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood, carry that water. Yeah, because we are all together. Sing aloud. Yes, we're all together. No matter where you're coming from. Sing, we're all together. Yeah. Yes, we're all together. Happy Sunday, everybody. Thanks, Jim Jones.